And that was what this war was about the whole time. We've already won the war. And now, slowly, cognitive dissonance, people are waking up to the level of fraud. I wrote it down because it came in loud and
Level of
clear.
fraud.
The level of fraud that's going to come in around what's going on in Minnesota right now. You're going to see it. Arizona's going to be equally as bad or worse.
Yep.
And then it'll be California, because hello. And by the way, we're not speaking about politics, Democrat and Republican.
Nope.
We're speaking strictly about money laundering and taking from us, the taxpayer, to run your agenda. And then it's going to be between California and New York as to who's going to be worse. I think we could hit almost the T mark, $1 trillion in money laundered.
Just a quick break from the program. I need to share with you in urgent manner about scam gold IRAs and the important need to make sure that you're working with a trusted company in the precious metals space. I have had hundreds of people come to me now where they have lost 50, 60, 70% of their life savings in these scam gold IRAs. We are having nearly 100% success rate getting their money back. If you have put your life savings into a gold IRA, I implore you to look and see if you have been scammed. Don't trust the company that sold it to you. Make sure you understand what you can get as a buyback value for the gold or silver that you have in your IRA. If you have noticed a significant drop in what you invested, you have more than likely been scammed. We can help you, and there's no shame. Go to sarahwestall.com/Miles Franklin, fill out that form, and we will help you get your life savings back. Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. For the beginning of the year, I wanted to have back Eddie Connor to talk about what we have in store for us for 2026. And he is considered one of the top psychics in, well, he was named that in LA, but he's one of the top psychics in the country, if not the world, according to many people I know. And he's just has the best energy. He's such a positive, uplifting person. And I wanted to have him on to talk about what's happening in 2026. Some of this is going to be crazy for people to hear. If this kind of triggers you, like, what the heck is that? I invite you to listen, write it down, and then do some more exploration with this. If you still don't believe it, kind of chalk it up on a shelf and say, okay, I won't totally reject it, but I'll look for clues on what they're saying. And perhaps that it might change the way you think about things. I don't know. But this is a fun conversation that I really enjoy. We're going to be talking about Tartaria. We're going to be talking about the old ways and removing the old ways and the new. So many fascinating things that are going to be coming out in this show today. And again, I hope you just give it a chance because there's going to be a lot of different ideas exposed here. Before we get into this, I love New Year's resolutions. I never used to do them, but now I do them all the time. And every year, I get really serious. Now, I think every day is a day to make a change. I always say it's a new day. So there's always a new day to make a change, not just a year. And if you fail, you're done. Every day you can make a change, wake up and go, okay, today is my day to make a change. Well, this year, I like New Year's resolutions too, because each year I focus on something. Last year, I really focused on getting my weight in control. And that's when I got on the peptides and I created my protocol after I lost a bunch of weight. And I got, I really was working on muscle preservation. It's part of my protocol. I'll put a link below to my protocol that you can get on my Substack. But this year, I'm going to keep working on getting into shape. I'm going to work on some of the anti-regenerative stuff. I'm going to work on my hormones because, as you get to the point in midlife and you got to work on your hormones. And fortunately, we have so many things that are beneficial for people. I don't know yet with the hormones. I'm just at the beginning of doing a few months of study on it. I really like, if people know, I like to really deep dive and research what's going on. And then I like to use me as an experimental tool, and then I really dial it in. Every person's different, but at least I can use myself as an experiment. With the weight loss, I did so much research. After the years, if you're someone like me, you've spent many years trying to figure it out, and I landed on this approach. It's the easiest, best, healthiest approach that I've seen in my lifetime. Again, I've lost like 25 pounds. I've kept it off. I'm getting healthier. I feel better, and I'm also focusing on muscle preservation. I want to tell you that the lab I use is the best. It's clean. They have three different independent analysis of their peptides to make sure it's just the peptide. No preservatives, no extra junk. And to me, it's worth spending another $10 maybe per vial or per order. That being said, right now they have a really good sale at the end of the year. It's a 20% off across the board. Then you can use my 20% coupon, Sarah, and save another 20%. And if you pay from your bank account, you save another 5%. It's really good prices right now. So it's a great time to stock up on peptides. If you miss this sale and you're listening to it after the first on, they always have sales. Sign up for the newsletter. And then also make sure you use Sarah, and then you can do the bank account because you can always save 25%. So if you're looking for retatrutide, you're looking for any of the muscle preservations or any of the other amazing peptides, this is a great time to stock up on it, but you can do it anytime and still save 25%. Okay, I'm going to have the link below to sarahwestall.com/shop where you can find a lot of the peptides, the favorite ones there. I'll have the link to the guide so you can see what I did to lose weight. And you also, I want to remind you, you must sign up as a VIP to get access to peptides like retatrutide and some of the others. A lot of them are just public and you can buy them. But for some of these other ones, you have to log in and become a VIP. I'll have a link below on how to become a VIP as well. And I hope you, again, with this interview, this conversation, I hope you take it in stride. If it's something you've never heard of before, spend some time digging into it. Spend some time, put some things on the shelf. Okay, this is like totally stupid. I'm going to put it on the shelf, but I'm not going to completely reject it. I'm going to learn about it. And if you have some constructive ideas about this, put a constructive message below saying, this is what I think or not. And maybe you can help others think about this. We can have some really good conversations. Don't just blast people. Anybody that comes into this and starts criticizing have that dark, negative, I call it evil energy, that dark energy, and just blast Eddie or just is, there to be negative. They're not listening to the show at all. And they just have all those negative comments. Like, where is that negative energy coming from? I just, because I'm to the point where I'm just tired of negative energy, I'm just delete. You're going to come into my program, my space with negative energy, you're deleted because I don't want that anymore. So please don't do that. Be constructive though. I'm not going to delete anybody that disagrees with me. I don't care if you disagree, but I do care that you're constructive and that we have adult conversations about things. That being said, also, if you're listening to this on Apple or any of the places that does reviews, please do a review for me. I'm trying to build up. I'm still being highly censored. I got back my channel back on YouTube, and they didn't lift any of the censorship, algorithmic shadow banning, and so that's what's happening. I am filing a suit against them at any point here, and we'll see how that goes. I just need my online presence cleaned up, and I'm done. Stop doing that to people. Knock it off. Stop being jerks. So anyways, okay. I hope you like this conversation with Eddie. EddieConner.com. It's Conner, Conner, if you want to learn more about him. And let's get into this fabulous conversation I have with Eddie Conner. Hi, Eddie. Welcome back to the show.
Hi.
Well, I am really excited to have you here. We're going to talk about what is in our future, what's coming up with 2026. I am one that is glad 2025 is going to be over. It's been a hard year for me. And so I feel the energy is changing, and we're in for some good stuff. It's not that the hard times aren't over, but it's things are turning a tide. That's how I feel. But what do you see coming?
I see that, first of all, coming out of 2025, the way you just expressed how you feel about 2025 going into 2026 is about 95% of the population. And because 2025 is a life path 9 year, and nines are endings, new beginnings. Nine can also be, if you're disconnected, the martyr, the victimhood shadow side. The positive side of the nine is you will work through whatever your crises are or your misalignments are, and then get yourself back into connection to source. So it's sort of a little abbreviated dark night of the soul. Most people will take it and hold on to the victim part or the unfair part. Very few souls took 2025 and transmuted it from chicken poo poo to something really good, right? And 2026 in numerology is a 1 year. So that's all new beginnings. It's leadership. And I jotted some things down. It is a reset point. You take everything we've learned in the last 9 years, and the last 9 years has been pretty kind of
Hard.
bumpy.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been a hard 9 years.
And this is the reset. We're going to reset, recalibrate, and then alchemize all of that bumpy stuff from the last year, 9 year cycle. And then you're like popped up at the very, very top. It's going to get so much better. And I wrote down a couple of things. It's going to bring in more courage, freedom, and independence, which means we're going back into healthy, critical thinking as a mass consciousness.
That's what we need.
And
Gosh,
we
do we need that?
big time. And the machine that has kept for X number of years or decades, people sort of in the middle and in a dark place is getting ready to not fall apart. The wheels have already started coming off of it in the last year, year and a half, but the wheels are now going to fall off of the programmed, and I shouldn't say things like this, but aspects of mainstream media, different things like that. The wheels are coming off of that machine. And in a number 1 year, everything we learned in nine comes to fruition, and then we get to see it for what it was versus what we thought it was. Thank you. They just said what's going to happen, and it's already been happening, is we talked about this the other time when we were on the show together. The crystalline DNA is waking up. And the crystalline or crystalline DNA it started waking up in 2020. And by 2028 is going to be fully locked and loaded. We're less than 2 years away from that. The crystalline is the pure positive light. Anytime pure, unconditional, authentic light hits something that is not like it goes crazy. It goes crazy.
It
And
starts
if
to
you
repair itself, right? I mean, it starts to be repaired.
if it wants to be repaired, if it doesn't want to be repaired, it comes back with double fangs, double talons, double lies, double programming, and double brainwashing.
And that
So
wakes us up more, though, right? The people who
yes,
aren't.
it wakes the all of us have it, except for maybe some non-player characters. But they all anything that is not of that divine authentic light will start to get exposed. They will regroup, come back stronger. We've already seen this happen, and then in 2026 gets exposed. And it makes sense if that Christ-aligned DNA is bringing back healthy, critical thinking, observation, greater awarenesses, then that will lead the masses back into freedom, sovereignty, and independence
Which is
and
what we
independent thinking.
need. Now, is there any advice that you've seen from the people who embrace the positive that you can help and give? What are some of the things that people do that you've seen that help them embrace that?
That's such a great question. Everybody is so different. I just saw a podcast, and I think the gentleman referenced Adam Grant, a book called Givers and Takers. And he said people fall under three categories: givers, takers, and matchers. Givers give to give because they just love humanity. They don't have a hidden agenda. It's how they're wired. They're not looking for something on the back end. They're just givers. Takers are takers. They'll scheme and lie and cheat and steal to ride the coattails of a giver or a matcher. And a matcher is somebody, if I gave you a gift card for $100, then you would turn around and give me a gift card for $100 on my birthday to even it out. And he says you want to always move toward being a giver because when you give the way we give, and genuine givers give, the entire universe conspires to keep giving back to you so you can continue perpetuating the giving cycle. So giving's the most authentic. So one of the things that has helped most people who are sensitive, empathic, who can't watch the news without throwing up in a bucket, is to always set your intention first. It's an old spiritual trick. Abraham Hicks talks about it. You set your intention first. I will not get out of bed, even though I'm at that age where I have to tinkle real bad when I wake up. I will lay there till I've set my tone, until I'm in alignment with source. And then the next thing I have done for the last 2 years is every morning after I tinkle, I will go and write affirmations to solidify that intention so that my thoughts, feelings, and frequencies are high, fast, and pure. And then I start automatically before 3 to 5 minutes of my day has started. I'm already drawing to me high, fast, pure people, places, circumstances, and situations. And that's in traffic. That's in your household. That's when you're channel surfing or scrolling on social media. So it's like setting your tone first, especially in the number 1 year, because it is leadership. One is the number for leadership, setting the tone, being your authentic self at a time. Thank you. They just said people people's true selves are getting ready to be reborn within them again. And as an example, I grew up in the 60s in the South where you're to be seen and not heard, keep your mouth shut. You speak when spoken to. And so that has been a dominant thing in my entire life. So I had to conform and fit in a box. Being a big old sissy didn't help either, right? Because now you have to behave in a way to make sure that your family and your community connects with you. So all of those things where we play small, where we don't share our true feelings about things going on in the world because we'll be kicked out of the community, all of that shit is over. Number 1 year is the reset. People will now be able to communicate their true, authentic self. If they're a little big, they're a little big. If they're a little loud, they're a little loud. If they vote this way or that way, it won't matter as much as far as being kicked out of a community
And it
or
won't be,
blacklisted.
and they won't weaponize it. We'll be able to see through the weaponizing of that as well. Do
Eh,
you know how they weaponize that
Yes, yes.
crap?
I studied hypnotherapy and the subconscious mind my entire adult life because I never could understand how people born in poverty like I was got out of it. And then 90% of them never did. And I realized it's what you feed the subconscious mind. So hypnotherapy is only about perpetual, consistent programming. You keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over. I'm poor. I don't have enough money. I'm broke. I have to work 3 jobs. I'll never get out of this trailer park, which is where I grew up. And there's no negative thing about trailer parks and the projects. And long story short, they said that the people who get out of that programming or get out of poverty consciousness into prosperity consciousness, they reset, recalibrate, realign to a higher frequency on purpose. They don't believe it consciously. They don't see it physically, but they keep reciting it, regurgitating it, rehearsing it, recalibrating it over and over and over until the scenery starts to change. Thank you. And here's where I'm going with that, or they're going with that. The first 4 or 5 months of COVID, there were over something crazy, billions of ads back to back, some every 20 seconds to 2 minutes. What was it saying? Do this, do this, do this, do this. And so it was on every screen, every television, every phone, every iPad. Then it was on every bus bench. It was on every newspaper. Then it's the mask. Then it's the 6 feet apart. It was one of the biggest psyops in human history. And the reason most people bought into it the way they bought into it, by the way, 2020 was a 4 year. 4 is law and order. It is authority. Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, that's
And
probably why they hated us that was going against that agenda because it was messing up their psyop.
you know what they did? They were brilliant in their evilness, in my little opinion. The straw that broke the camel's back is if you do not do what we're telling you to do, you're going to kill grandma.
I know, that was so
Remember
bad.
that?
Yeah, and it was a study came out of Yale that said all the ways they can psychologically manipulate you.
Oh, and it was the biggest, and very few people got out on the other side of that intact without their livelihood being ripped away from them, without being kicked out of a community, without never getting to go back home to your family. So that was all hypnotized. I call it shipmatized because they kept feeding you this SHIT and they kept giving you numbers and figures and things over and over and over where you started to believe it. And now we know for a fact they fudged the figures to scare people because fear motivates people to behave the
And
way
all
they're
that's
going to
coming
behave.
out, right? Everyone, the mass consciousness is figuring that out.
It's coming. It's one of I have like 8 pages of fun things. But one of the things under the medical, when I was sitting here like jotting stuff down, peer-reviewed research that has been suppressed for the last 5 years, 6 years is getting ready to come out. Thank you. They're saying it's already coming out, but it keeps getting pushed down. Already coming out, but it gets pushed
Yeah,
down.
they
Like
still have
what's
some
going on in
power.
Minneapolis right now. None of the mainstream talked about it. There's a reason. They're not talking about the truth about the peer review things for a reason. All of that's going to come out, every bit of it.
It's going to
The real
shake the
figures.
world. It's going to shake their world, isn't it?
Yes. Ooh,
I
it's
know.
so
It's like,
exciting.
thank God it's going to because,
And
man,
you know what's fascinating? We don't wish ill on anyone. We don't. And so even when it shakes their world, we will still have empathy for them because most of them did what they believed at the time was right.
but
But
their
that will be
world
the
needs to be shaken.
yes. Well, you never ever expand a consciousness of an individual or a people by being complacent or just happy. Expansion comes from rattling your belief systems, putting you in a life or death situation. And so it's we're going into that dawn of the age of Aquarius where the truth comes in. We're going into a frequency of authenticity and love and connection to source. The soul is coming more alive. I personally don't believe Christ is coming back through the clouds, as it were, the way they rewrote the Bible
Yeah,
to tell us
yeah,
that. Christ-aligned DNA is already waking up. That's the return of the Christ.
I
Going to the
believe that.
temples was about going between these two temples and going through the pineal gland and pulling that into us. That's the spirit of. And they cannot outrun that. They can't control that. They can't control love and connectability. They can't control things like this. Yes, they can take the show down, but later, when it comes back around, it's going to come around like a tsunami of authentic light. They cannot outrun it. They will drown in the light.
Just a short break from the program to share with you an amazing peptide to help you lose weight. It's stronger than Ozempic. And why? It's because it not only reduces your appetite, but it also burns fat. These other GLP-1s on the market, they do not burn fat. They just reduce your appetite. This one, retatrutide, is stronger. It's considered a next generation peptide because of that. And man, does this work. I've been using it for 2.5 weeks and I've already lost 11 pounds, and I cut my dose in half because I was losing weight too quickly. And that kind of freaked me out, to be honest. And so I also am taking this 5 amino 1MQ in capsule form. This helps by making sure that you lose fat, not muscle. And so in conjunction, I'm using both of these. This will work whether you have this or not. And I am telling you, it's amazing. If you are interested in getting this, I have the link below, or you can go to sarahwestall.com under shop. You can use the coupon code Sarah to save 10%. If you have questions about your own use, you should either consult your doctor or you can join Dr. Diane's tribe. And I have a link below to that. It is only $1 for the first week. You can ask her any question you want and get all your answers to this, how to take an injectable. And there shouldn't be any fear in doing that. It is easy and straightforward. Go to sarahwestall.com under shop or use the link below. And remember to use coupon code Sarah. That's what I'm looking for. Now, when you brought up NPC, how many NPCs are there? Are there NPCs? And what do you mean by that? And how many are there?
I I feel like if there's 9 million billion with a B on planet Earth, I feel like a minimum of 2 billion will be NPCs
What is their purpose?
to keep you in line, to follow the script. It can only they only do what they're programmed to do. And I think it's an acronym for non-player character.
Yeah.
I, without being personal, in my family, and I'll say expanded family, I know that when a child is conceived or born in abstract tragedy, fear, or something horrific, like a rape or something bad, really bad, the original soul will often say, okay, this isn't what we signed up for. And then a walk-in or a less evolved soul, if it's a soul at all, steps in. And then they're the ones who follow the script to the letter, which makes us question our instinct, intuition, intuitive intellect, our empathic sensitivities. And you're sitting there and you're going, wow, if these 25 people are all behaving a certain way, maybe something is wrong with me. That's the purpose of the NPC.
Well, and psychology shows, when they've done studies that where they show people looking at a match or something, which match is taller than the other. And if everybody, and it's obvious, if everyone before you, and I have a little clip that I've played in the past, everyone before you says that another one is the taller one, even though it's obvious, most people will follow the crowd instead of saying the obvious one.
And that's the purpose of the NPCs, meaning they keep everybody in check with the powers that be, the oligarchs, because we know it's just like a handful of people, a handful of companies that micromanage everything. All of that's getting ready to dissolve. It's dissolving as we speak.
What does that do to the NPCs then?
I think they're going to end up off planet.
Wow. Okay.
I literally think it'll be like if I unplug my computer and the battery dies, it just goes flat.
Interesting.
But when a soul leaves a body, the shell of the body goes flat. I mean, if it dies, if the soul leaves the body and it's dead and it's transitioned, the body is just a husk. I feel it's the same with the NPCs. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating thing. I have somebody in my family I know is an NPC because a normal human would never,
That's when
ever behave that way. There's no conscience there. There's no empathy. There's no guilt.
It's like, what in the world? Yeah.
Because, and you've met people before in just life where it's like, nothing is coming from this person.
Mm-hmm.
And what is coming from them is flat and maybe even dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean they're evil. It just means they are not emitting soul frequency.
And you can feel it all the time, I'm sure. You feel it. You walk into a room and you can probably just feel it everywhere.
And the whole world is getting ready to move into that.
That's awesome.
Because as the fifth dimension comes in, fifth being heaven, consciousness, expanded consciousness, we're all going to be empathic, sensitive, intuitive, and we're going to operate off of telepathic faculties as well as other non-physical attributes in harmony with the physical.
Because we all have that skill, right?
All of us. We were born with it, and we've been dumbed down by putting fluoride in the water, calcifying the pineal gland, poisoning food, poisoning air. And it sounds conspiracy theorist, but the truth is the receipts are there, the forensic audits are back, and they have been systematically doing it for a long time. And the US is worse than almost any other country in the world.
Yeah, that's why our medical, when you look at the graphs, the rest of the world's graphs are like this, and ours is an outlier. If you've seen that graph, I
I,
should put it up.
I haven't seen it, but I'll tell you what, one of the things that came through with medical, let me see, political, mainstream media, medical. Um, what's going to happen? I'm just going to read these off. Is that okay? Just
No,
for fun.
go for it. Yes.
Okay. In 2026, there's going to be more reliable truth about things that have been suppressed with turbo cancers, heart attacks, myocarditis, all via things that happened back then because of mRNA, graphene oxide. There's some of the most brilliant medical minds in the world who never took a penny from the establishment, who have who are all coming out all over the world
That gave me
and
the chills.
saying that what a lot. And what they're saying is there's something called the God gene, and that they programmed these things to go in and kill that particular gene. And that's why now the mRNAs and different things have gone in and immediately killed that. And that's why it's a 480% turbo cancer thing happening now, particularly in the United States. And it's not just, it's all kinds of cancers. But when they wipe that out, then your immune system is destroyed. And then it goes and attacks the weakest part of whatever's going on in your body. And then it doesn't stop there. Once that's taken care of, it goes to another and another and another until you're no longer. And all of that's getting exposed. 2026, you will see more things exposed with that in a way that they cannot suppress it any longer because truth is truth. It's getting ready to come out hand over fist. Also, and this is the same thing, there'll be more evidence that this should have never been released to the public ever, ever, for no reason whatsoever. I personally feel, and it might take 1 to 3 years to see physical evidence of this, there'll be no more of these. And I feel like in 2026, you're going to, I don't know who it'll be, is going to step up front and say, okay, we're done now. We're done.
We are
And here's why
done.
we're done. Because I think
Done.
they've been in a campaign where they keep wanting, they have to show people who were, quote, sleepers or who have been the most programmed. I understand that very clearly now. I didn't then, but now I do because people will lose their minds
Hmm.
if they believe for a second you're taking something away from them that actually made their life better.
That's right. Well,
So,
we all lost our mind almost when we were forced to do something that we thought was really bad,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
I've never been a quote paranoid person, but there was about a week there in the thick of all of it. I'm like, are they going to knock on the door and see that I didn't and do this? And by the way,
They were talking about it.
I was going to say that was the plan.
Yeah.
And I would listen, I was muscle testing. I was like, yep, it's the plan. It's the plan. It's the plan. And, you know, us intuitives will ask the same question 37,496 times to see if we keep getting the same answer. And that was the plan. And I know I'm going to sound dramatic. Internment camps, that was a plan. FEMA camps, that was a plan. To shut people
Oh,
up, that was a plan. And by the way, every 150 years, they do the same plan throughout history over and over and over. And I don't know if you know much about Tartaria or if you're interested in it.
yeah, yeah. Tell us about that because I know all the maps showed it and then they try to wipe it off the history books.
That's getting ready to come out too. And
Wow.
other civilizations. Tartaria was what we're going back to now. Intuitive intellect, empathic sensitivities. It was the most advanced up until that point. It equaled and rivaled Atlantis and Lemuria.
Well, and it was just 150 years ago that they wiped it out. So we
Yep.
were becoming a real different civilization, and they won that war, but we're going to win this one.
They won the last five.
That's
The
five.
oligarchs won the last five. Atlantis, Lemuria, Rome. I don't think Rome ever fell. I think it rolled itself
Yes.
over into the
Yep.
Catholic Church, right?
Yep.
Egypt and another one. But this, oh, and Tartaria. But it's going to, it's all going to come out. I think it was in 1907, they took the ether out of the periodic table. The ether was how Tartaria, Atlantis, Lemuria all operated with running water, electricity.
Yep.
We
Yep.
had all of that way back then. And
Endless energy from the ether, right?
and Tesla made sure that that was going to be what happened. And then one of the primary Rockefellers or the Rothschilds came in and went, "Oh, no, you don't. Let me introduce you to Thomas Edison."
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess there's like five elements that should be or more on the periodic table that
Oh,
have
yeah.
to, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And all of that's coming back. We're going back to that. We're going back to new kinds of energy. And I don't mean corn oil in your car. I mean literal energies that have we lived with before it was all taken out. They had to put Tartaria into a slave mentality and they couldn't go there because they were already free, sovereign, connected to source energy beings. And it was a heavenly consciousness on planet Earth. So they had to just destroy them. Mental
Wow.
institutions and asylums were created to shut the people like us up back in the day that survived the mud floods and the energy weapons and the canceling of that civilization.
Well, yeah, it's just so incredible. So all of that is coming back and they're not going to win this time.
They're not going to win. They're not going to win. I feel like in my heart of hearts, we've already won. But if we had quantum leaped from where we were to that awareness too fast, it would shake the entire mental, emotional, physical foundation of the human psyche.
What is the alien disclosure thing?
I love this. Um, in my lifetime, I've seen five ships. And by the way, speaking of Nikola Tesla, one time in the seventh grade, listen, child, when I say we were poor, we were poor. We were homeless. We were living with my aunt and uncle in a double wide trailer in Sophia, North Carolina, and we were out throwing potatoes up at spaceships. And so there were three V-shaped ships, and all of us little kids were out there playing, and it was after dark. And they were flying lower than a football field. And we could see them in perfect unison. Not one
Wow.
sound was coming from them. All of us saw it. And then we all started chasing and throwing rocks and potatoes and stuff up at them. And then they just sort of went off. The colors on them are colors I've never seen before. And the feeling I got off of them was otherworldly. That was an invention from Nikola Tesla. So when they broke into his home and stole blueprints, that anti-gravity vehicle he had created when he was alive. And that model was sold to the Germans during World War II.
So how much of this that we're seeing is our own government craft versus actual entities from another dimension or from another solar system?
I feel like 60% of what we've seen so far is mostly ours. The
But there's
little
about
orbs, the
40.
tic tacs, the V's.
Oh,
Yeah,
those are all ours. The orbs,
those are
the,
ours.
yeah. How about the,
And
go,
go ahead.
no, how about the 40%?
I think those are like the big cigar shaped ships, the motherships. And I feel 40% ish or higher because they're multidimensional. Ours are not.
And it's
Yeah,
from the other dimensions, not from out in space.
yes, because space to me is higher dimensions and higher frequency. A ghost is a If a ghost were standing here and walked into the room, I'm just going to say this if it's okay. Your mother's energy is not ghost energy. Ghost energy is dense. Pure spirit, soul, authentic energy is high, fast, and pure. She was behind you when we started this call, and I saw her here because I can't see that high of a frequency dimension yet. Right? So it's like they have the ability, they're right here. You can see them if you had the quote, multidimensional glasses to see them. They're here all the time. They are here. They never left. They are here. And I believe they're going to come out in 2026 to 2028. And if you put it right in the middle at 2027, people better eat their Wheaties, take their vitamins, fasten their seat belts, take some Imodium AD because it's going to get real.
And will we have more from the upper frequencies than the lower frequencies? Because I felt like we've been dominated by this lower frequency stuff.
100%. And we will be. And there that I feel like the higher dimensional beings have said we've had enough. We're sick of working with the governments of the world because they don't have the people's interest at heart. And if you don't start disclosing it, we're going to do it for you in a way that there's no way you can control it. And there's no way they can't not now believe that we exist. And, I believe they're done with it.
Now, let's talk about religion a little bit. Will the religions of the world start to, I know there's going to be some that fight it like crazy, but will the religions in the world start to embrace the true message of Jesus? And because I believe the message of Jesus, when you just read the red line, the red line book, it's really in line with what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Will the religions of the world actually take the lessons of Jesus and be truly Christians and read what he actually said? Or will
I
they fall out?
I think they're going to fall out. I feel like there'll be individuals that live inside of the walls of man-made religion who will see the light, for lack of a better term, and then step outside of that and go, "Oh, this book, which was rewritten many, many, many times, and the true books of the Bible are hidden under the Vatican, or they were till about 5 years ago." And we've been misinterpreting it the whole time by design of the people who rewrote the Bible and who created religion, because religion is man made. Spirituality, connection to source in the inner Christ consciousness, is always there. So there will be religion, in my opinion, will fall systematically, some faster than others. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, it's so crazy what I just saw. Some of there's going to be, like what's going on in Minneapolis right now.
Mhm.
There's going to be things of that caliber or higher in the top three or four primary religions of the world. And it's going to shake the core of everyone who follows, I'm making this up, Mormon, Catholicism, Baptist, Protestant, whatnot. It's going to the more strict the religion, they're just now telling me this, the more strict and on point the religion is, the more often programmed the human is that grew up and that is to break free from it. The more loose a religion is, be kind to other people, treat
Yeah,
people the
yeah.
way you want to be treated. Those people who are still connected to their spiritual awareness, whether they know it or not, when the fifth dimension comes in and is here, opens them up, they'll go, "Oh, because they have less negative programming about a set of rules that if they break them, they'll burn in hell.
Yeah, because they tried to follow the true teachings more, right? They looked at that and they tried to be more serious about it. But the ones that were serious about the human rules versus Christ's teachings,
Yep.
yeah, because there's a difference. And and you have to ignore so much of Christ's teachings to follow so much. Also, we'll start to get in alignment with the energy of the feminine energy, which isn't female, it's an
Right.
energy, right? And that's where people fall out. They don't understand this is really an energy, but it's going to be more in line. That's my understanding.
That I love this perspective, and I feel like you're spot on because what they showed me when you said that is how many decades have we watched media make connected, empathic men, even alpha males, feminize or queer or gay and other adjectives so that they did this. And then look how fast within 2 decades they flipped the script to make men so feminized.
They weaponized
And
it.
it's fascinating to watch it. So it's, and by the way, if you really look at it the way I'm seeing, hearing it, feeling it right this very second, they're saying they even programmed a lot of males to literally dislike women.
hmm Which you see too. You see this hyper hatred towards females, why is this happening? It's like they're weaponizing all this stuff. And I also say, like the sex changes and all, it's like, well, we want to accept everybody, but it's been weaponized to hurt people.
Yep.
And and so it's just all that weaponization is going to start, but that's where the critical thinking comes in, right? We need to understand.
There's no difference in what you just described with the surgeries and the transgenderism in the way that it's been force fed to humanity. There's no difference in that program and belief system and process. There's no difference in that in religion.
It's just a different type, right? It's the
It's a diff
same
it's a
programming,
different
cult
name,
type. Yeah.
same program.
Yeah. And I really hope the children that they're targeting will be lifted while we still accept them for who they are and understand that they probably are going through a lot of things and maybe
Yeah,
they're gay or whatever, who
yeah,
cares?
yeah.
Instead of programming them to hurt themselves for their entire life. And
But
hope
through
go ahead.
because of somebody else's agenda.
That's right. And they're victims because they don't have the tools to be able to fight it. And so they truly believe it. They're the true victims. So
Yeah.
so much of this is going to come to light. And I always say the adults in the room need to come back in and take control. I say it
Yeah.
like that. But it's essentially
But
the
and
same thing.
that was taken away from them too. When we were in school, if you talked back to a teacher, there was consequences. If you didn't do your homework, there was consequences. If you weren't a team player, there was consequences. And don't get me started on structured education because I know it's an indoctrination, propagandized machine. I know that part. But as far as community connectability, there was a consequence for treating people badly. That got taken away around the 90s especially. And then it got worse and worse and worse. Where then the parents, if they discipline the child in California, if you tell your 6-year-old, no, sweetheart, that's not your gender. Well, let's look at it, talk about it, but we don't want you don't want to go get a surgery. They will take your child away.
I know, isn't that crazy? It's
Insane.
so insane. It's an attack on who they are as a human being.
And their brains aren't even developed
I
yet.
know, I know. And I know this one girl who's, well, but she likes to be called a male. And I'm like, do you really want to take away your infertility? I don't know. She's only 15 or whatever. Did they have the ability to make that decision? I mean, really?
If people knew the real reason and motivation and creation behind the what I don't know what the correct term is, the Board of Education. they would run from the building screaming because it was ultimately set up to take the children away from you and let the schools be the guardians. And you had no say in what we do with your child because they belong to the state, not to you. Kathy O'Brien is one of the best at articulating all of this because she lived through it and she was a programmed presidential model sex slave honeypot trap to go in the 60s and 70s and set that up for our government and our military.
Isn't that incredible that that was real? And I think that cognitive dissonance is this is what you're saying. The
Yes,
cognitive dissonance of how that's absurd. How could that be real? Because it is absurd. That cognitive dissonance that the absurd is real is going to go away, right?
yes,
Isn't that what you're
yes.
saying?
And it already is. That's where the wheels are about ready to fly off of the wagon that's been going for a long time in one direction. Something I heard a long time ago, and I heard it repeatedly in the last 2 decades, is the powers that be, whether it's the bloodline families or the decision makers or the oligarchs or the black pope or the gray pope, whatever it is, they always keep a stable in every country of 100 psychics, 100 psychics, numerologists, astrologers,
Yep.
remote viewers. They keep them around the clock, 3 shifts, every country in the world, and they give them things to tune into. And what they kept giving them to tune into is, are we going to win this war and keep humanity enslaved? And you know what they came back with?
No,
No,
you're not.
you're
Yep.
not going to be able to do it. So then they pulled out big guns here, 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 here. And that's why the mass programming and brainwashing has been so hyper
Incredible.
elevated. And now, and so if we can't beat them, then we need to destroy them. If we can't have them and keep them enslaved, nobody will have them. And that was what this war was about the whole time. We've already won the war. And now, slowly, cognitive dissonance, people are waking up to the level of fraud. I wrote it down because it came in loud and
Incredible
clear.
fraud.
The level of fraud that's going to come in around what's going on in Minnesota right now. You're going to see it. Arizona's going to be equally as bad or worse.
Yep.
And then it'll be California, because hello. And by the way, we're not speaking about politics, Democrat and Republican.
Nope.
We're speaking strictly about money laundering and taking from us, the taxpayer, to run your agenda. And then it's going to be between California and New York as to who's going to be worse. I think we could hit almost the T mark, $1 trillion in money laundered. And then
At
Washington
least, yep.
State, for some reason, I don't know why, but I kept getting
Seattle.
Washington State.
Seattle has a lot of the kind of big tech sectors out there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet you that's, Minnesota was maybe hitting it first.
Yeah.
We had a surplus back at the beginning of 2020 or something. The amount that they laundered is our entire surplus, I think. 6 to 7 billion at least. And that's
It's
just in the last few years.
and now it's up to 9
Oh God,
in Minneapolis,
well, that's
in
because it's
Minnesota.
more than our surplus, right? It's years of doing it, not
You,
just the recent surplus.
yes, because they started all of these things decades ago in little bitty ways to see if it would work. And then they get bolder and bolder, just as thieves do and liars do. And what's funny to me, and we've heard this already, I'm not coming up with it. I thought of it, but I'm hearing it everywhere now. And it's this these people who came here in that community, that this was not their brainchild.
I think
This
they're
was
being
something
used, right?
promised to them, yes, by
I believe
our
that.
own shadow government.
I believe that they were being used as because it's too big. The amount that's been sent through, and Walls had over 400 people that blew the whistle. That told me that I thought about it quite a bit because I've done shows on. I'm from Minnesota, and I'm like, there's no way this community orchestrated all of this. There is
Yeah,
no way. They've been used to do it. They benefited from it, but
big
they
time.
were not the main culprits as far as I'm concerned anymore.
Yep, I feel the same way. And he and for it looks like a pebble in the pond, but really this is a boulder in an ocean that's
Yep.
going to send tsunamis to every corner of those shores around the world, but especially in the United States. He will he will be
Who do you say he? Who's he?
Tim.
Okay.
Tim's so going to be tried
He deserves
for
it.
treason.
My
Somebody may
daughter,
kill him. Somebody may attempt to kill him.
my daughter, before he ran for governor, she had a graduation party with two of her best friends. They grew up, together, and one of them, his family really liked him. It was before he was elected, and they did a fundraising event for him before he was governor and made that position. And she was there, and at their house, and she said, "Mom, the guy's nuts." She
I,
gave a speech. She goes, "He is nothing like what you see in public. He is crazy."
I I love that you're sharing this because if you take people can't, most people, what we're going to, when I say critical thinking and healthy conversations again, is where we're talking back and forth like we are. We're sharing information and to keep adding to the consciousness. We're not picking a side. And so, even in this conversation right now, where your daughter's there, and even though it was a campaign fundraiser, she was an aware, objective observer of consciousness.
Because she didn't
She,
know politics. She wasn't Democrat or
that's
Republican. She had no
that's
clue.
that's the beauty of it. And the younger you are, the more pure your frequency. So when you're around an impure frequency, something feels off. And but when I watch him and when I'm tuning into her, observing him at that event, he was all over the place and discombobulated in his message. I feel he was high as a kite on what he had just brought in. And like an addict who just gets a really high high, they're like, da, 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 da.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no alignment and groundedness in that energy. And I feel like here's him, and then there's like this many beings, entities around him jumping in and out of his energy field that
Oh,
run
that
him.
makes sense. That makes
And one
sense.
is like greed, one is paranoia that I'm going to get caught, and it's coming home to roost. He will be tied to multiple murders, I'm being shown.
A quick break to share with you this wonderful product called Masterpiece. It is proven to taking out graphene oxide, aluminums, heavy metals, microplastics. They also are looking at these MAC addresses, and there's more and more research and there's studies coming out. There's 4 documentaries that are being made on their studies of how they're able to disable MAC addresses that are somehow put into people. This is amazing stuff. I highly recommend. I buy a whole box of it and I make sure my whole family has it. If you are interested in trying this and really cleaning up your body from microplastics, graphene oxide, you can also test yourself. You can get your hair tested, see what you are before and what you are after you use this for a few months. They stand behind what they're doing with tests, studies, and real results. And look for the link below where you can buy Masterpiece yourself. It'll provide you a discount, or you can go to sarahwestall.com under shop. Wow. Well, you know what? During COVID, everybody had to wear masks. It was one of the strictest places in the country. And then he goes down to Florida. My daughter, he has a daughter the same age as my daughter, and they have shared acquaintances or shared friends, actually. And so knew her social media. And they went to Florida, masks off, the week after he was cramming that into everybody's faces. That's the kind of person he was.
Thank you for saying that. That was the beginning of the dawn of the age of Aquarius coming into the earth plane. Truth gets revealed, feminine energy. Like you said, it doesn't mean it's woman. It
That's
means
right.
that feminine, which complements the masculine, the moon with the sun, the night with the day. And that was the beginning of it. And that's when Nancy Pelosi, and I'm not picking sides here, Nancy Pelosi went in without her mask and all that stuff to get her hair did when nobody else was allowed to. Certain politicians were caught at their private restaurants with big crowds of people, nobody wearing a mask.
This can't be a Democrat. I mean, come on. This is a human being thing.
That's what has been taken out of politics. It used to be for humanity. We're
Hmm.
here to be of service. We're here
Hmm.
to protect you. And that has been taken out completely. And we're serving ourselves and we're doing whatever we're told to do.
Well, and that's why so many people are struggling politically, like some of the things that are happening on both sides. Like at that time, it kind of manifested itself as the Democrats, but now there's some stuff that we're seeing coming from the other side manifesting itself that is people are rejecting. And that's why the polls are showing up their way because people just want to get to authentic goodness, right? I mean, they're like, I don't care about politics anymore. I want us to get back to what being a good human.
Yeah. What's going to happen in 2026 is there's going to be more financial security. The fear economy is being pulled away. And it's funny, I call it a fear economy for a long time. We're going back to a we economy where it serves we the people, right? And the fear economy is you will see people on both sides holding on to the fear economy like it's something great to be excited about. And it's like, and then when they talk about the we economy, they're like, you can't talk about that.
But it's
The
not
fear,
communism, right? And that's the other thing. They're going to try to paint it as that when it's like, no, we're not talking that.
yeah. As soon as they start talking about you're going to kill grandma or this person is Hitler or this person isn't Hitler, then you know you're in a psyop. You know you are. And if people would do, and this is a great message, I've learned the hard way. My mama said, Edward, you're too trusting. You assume everybody's as nice as you are. You need to stop. And she wasn't negative at all, but boy, mama was super psychic. She'd be like, I wouldn't trust that one as far as I could throw them. And I'm like, why, mom? She's like, listen to them talk for 5 minutes and you'll understand. She didn't tell me why. But then when I sat still and watched, I went, oh my God, they just told on themselves 3 times. And what they're telling you is, well, this person hurt my feelings, so I effed their boyfriend. Or this person didn't give me the raise, so I went and told human resources they were sleeping with somebody.
Jeez.
So they're telling you who they are without even knowing they're telling you who they are. And where we're going back to now, 2026 and further, is the good people will set and be more not only critical thinking people, they're going to say things like, would I want to have lunch with that person? How many times have they contradicted their message? How many times did they look down and mumble when they said, I'm here to serve the people? Basic, I hate the word common sense, but basic awareness of patterns. We've seen the patterns been jammed down our throats. Now the wheels are flying off. So if you're aware enough and want to be connected, regardless of politics, then watch how they behave. What they say and how they behave is about what they're going to get from you instead of what they're supposed to be doing for you. And most of them, unfortunately, on all sides right now. By the way, they're takers. Sometimes they'll match. Mostly they're takers. There's a handful of givers that probably will get killed. But I'm being shown the entire system wiped clean. And it will be one big brushstroke. I don't know what it'll be. Oh, gosh, I'm so scared to say this, to be honest. When I hear people screaming about Trump or whomever, but particularly him, they will go on about dictatorship and things like that. But when I tune in and muscle test, I have to tell you, I keep receiving information that he's following the rule of law.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I have so many sources over the years that are telling me that what's coming out on him it's not in alignment with what they've told me, from Kathy O'Brien to Sherry Edwards I mean, I can't tell you how many people are saying that he's actually cleaning some of this up. And I know people are going to reject this
Hearing
message.
that.
They're going to reject that because of what they're seeing, especially the technocracy. But it's not in alignment with what I've been hearing. So I'm just sitting back going, okay, I got to help. I got to figure out what's really happening here.
And that is so you. What is the discrepancy? Why are there contradictions? The thing that got me the most into this, my whole path started on 9/11, and it got quadruple amplified in 2020 for obvious reasons. And what in 2020, especially when they all started pointing the finger at one person and screaming hell on earth, knowing hypnotherapy, knowing the subconscious mind, knowing how now more the machine works, I'm like, why are all of these people saying something about this person? But they're not talking about the history of any of the other people who really did
Exactly.
things too. That is actually on the books. And that's when I had to go to the 30,000 foot view. And I really watch him more than anybody else to see if there's a contradiction or a misstep. And what they show me while we're having this conversation for your viewers and listeners is I used to have a 40-gallon fish tank for a headboard. Bad idea. And when about 5 gallons of the water would go out, you just pour in fresh water. Well, what happens when you pour in 10 gallons of fresh water into a half empty fish tank? It stirs up all of the sediment.
Mhm.
And then you feel really bad for the fish. They're like, what the hell is going on here? I can't see my fins. And then about an hour later, you go in, it's still not good. An hour after that, you go in, it's a little better. And then 8 hours you go in, you never knew there was sediment in the bottom that got stirred up and thrown in people's faces. And what I feel is happening right now, not only are the wheels coming off the wagon of the programmed people and programming us for negative reasons, when he came back in, 10 gallons of fresh water went into a contaminated system. There's 10 gallons of clean water, there's still 30 gallons of bad. Now, in a year into it, 20 gallons empty, 20 gallons contained, and then you pour in 20 gallons of fresh water. There's less sediment and it goes away faster. Next year, 2026, will be 30 gallons of fresh water and only 10 gallons of not good water. And before 2027, it will be take the fish out, put them over here, deep clean the hell out of the gravel in the tank and everything else, and put all fresh water in there. That's the stage this is going in. I wouldn't have seen it had you not said that. But I keep getting he is following the rule of law, but both sides have contaminated the Constitution, Congress, the amendments, the Constitution, so watered it down where a judge in Podunk, whatever, has power over the president.
I know
And
it.
so that's when you know something is at hand that's way more gigantic than everyday people have the time or energy
That's
to
right.
spot.
That's
Now,
right.
all of that's going to get revealed, and there'll still be the diehard people in a holding a stuck pattern. There'll
Well, what
always
about
be
these
that.
Epstein images with Trump? And that's why I just sit back and go, oh, I don't know what the heck here, because that doesn't, again, it doesn't, when Trump said that this is going to be one big psyop, it could be a psyop, it could be made up. And I don't want to hold on to any one person being what I think they are as a construct. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
and so I don't want to say that's also, but it doesn't match what I've been told by so many people over the years. So could it be real or not?
It it could be real. This is where we love taking the 30,000 foot view. We're
Yes,
not going, we like him. So far, he's been consistent. Now is he a contradiction to that? Or do they want us to think he's a contradiction to that?
that's right.
And so when we come up here, awareness is a beautiful thing because you don't get charged by the left or the right. You don't get charged by, I like him. Am I going to hate him now that I know this? You go to awareness. You literally almost act like the soul in the body instead of the brain that's been trained to think good or bad.
Hmm.
And so, in that greater awareness where there's no emotional charge whatsoever, you gather data. And if you feel like there's a misstep and that he's not who you think he is, you say, from this relaxed place where I'm connected to source, I am aligned to my source energy. I am not attached to anything but the authentic truth of all that is. Start bringing me people, places, circumstances, and situations to help me see the full truth, period. And that's not attached to anything or anybody. The
That's right.
full truth will always come forward. That's why the oligarchs have lost this war. The light has come in, light is authenticity, light is sincerity, light is connection to love. They knew they could never, ever trump that. No pun intended. So they started contaminating every corner of the system so that when you do think logically, and you do think in a more healthy way, and you do speak about it, your critical thinking in a healthier way, then you would get attacked harder than you've ever been attacked. So they could continue to keep everybody in fear and frustration because there's no power in fear and frustration. They have the power, and their desire is to rule you, and that makes them happy, which is sick. But that's all been broken. And I feel the same. I don't feel, I know Epstein has five or six, or had five or six jets. I don't think Epstein's dead.
I don't think so either. Or he
I
wasn't when, well, you can probably feel his energy. I don't know. But it wasn't him on that gurney that was leaving. That's for sure.
100%. It's going to come. I feel like he went back in to save his life to help the powers that be get the rest of the truth out. And by the way, people, listen, if you want to know how shady that whole system is, they literally have him in one category, and that's child sex trafficking and pedophilia and rape and all these horrible, horrible things. That is a fingernail connect nothingness compared to he had his hands in everything,
Yes.
every government in the world, every secret agency in the world. He is the pawn, he's the patsy. And I personally feel like Jocelyn was his handler.
That's how I sense it.
He
Yes.
didn't have the he didn't have it. He doesn't have the he can't. He's not smart enough. She is
And she was more connected too.
way more because her father,
Yes.
who he was, and by the way, connected to printing our school books in our country. He was the person printing our books in our schools about history. If you go back and look at a history book 100 years ago, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, all the way down to today, completely different history. They take it out, they take the truth out, like they did with the Bible, every X number of years.
It just changed out. In Romania, I know somebody who grew up in Romania area, and she said when she was a child, she learned about Tartaria.
I'm so happy right now. I
Yeah.
they when you see, and that's why every metropolitan city in every state in our country was destroyed, and they presented it like the Chicago World's Fair. That was the last standing structure of a totalitarian empire. Then they dynamited it when the World's Fair was over. The Great Fire in Charleston, South Carolina, destroyed all of the Tartarian buildings. There's still a few all over the world as FUs back to us, from the oligarchs, but
Mhm.
it's all going to come out now. Every fire, every war was to destroy that civilization so we could not come back to it and go, well, what about this? How did a chisel and a horse and buggy do that?
That's right.
And then
It's
they rewrote history again. It's
again,
fascinating. You know what? Now, when you think of Tartar, what do you think of?
well, tartar sauce, but you think of that. You think of the Tartarian.
That we do, but everyday people think of the tartar on your teeth.
Oh, tartar
It's a
nicotine.
negative, nasty thing.
Oh,
That's
that's
by
why they did
design,
that. Oh,
100%. So you psychologically, intuitively, emotionally felt, sensed, and believed this was this instead of the empire that it was, that
mm.
literally had free energy and everything that they took away from us on purpose.
It's amazing we were that advanced, isn't it? I mean, it's like, wow. And that's the cognitive dissonance that we need to, that layer that needs to go away.
Well, and I know you're aware of the 6,000 patents and all of that that's going to come into vogue soon. That's all tied to that and Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was from Venus. He wasn't from Earth. He's from the most connected, most unconditionally loving, authentic planet, star system, other side of the ice wall, whatever you want to call it, civilization.
So,
And
do you think that we are on a bigger Earth with an ice wall and almost like a zoo?
yeah, I do. And it's funny because I used to draw that whenever I was growing up. I used to sketch it. Did you ever see the movie Tomorrowland?
No.
George Clooney is one of the leads. It's similar to this. And there's another one called Midnight Express, where those worlds are right here in other dimensions. Remember, we're third dimension, fourth dimension as of 1999 or whatever it was to 2012, and then 2012 to 2020 to 2028, rather 2020 to 2028, the fourth and fifth dimensions coming in over. So you're going to start seeing people say, I saw a ghost, I saw a spirit, I saw this, I saw that, I had a psychic vision. That's going to be normal, everyday reality. But Tomorrowland and Midnight Express shows you what those other systems look like, those other star systems that are here. But I used to sketch them and draw them in extraterrestrials
Wow.
my whole life.
I'm gonna go watch Tomorrowland.
Oh,
I'm gonna watch. It's one of my to-dos on my list. I'm gonna actually write it on my
you're going to
list.
be like, and and of course, it's got all kinds of secret stuff in it because it's secret. But listen, Tomorrowland, we'll talk about Tesla and the Eiffel Tower, and Midnight Express talks about those other civilizations and this little boy being a star baby.
Wow, I could talk to you. Are going to have to be a regular guest. I just love
Oh,
talking. Your energy is so positive. I can tell. So it's just you exude positive energy. Thank you so much. Where could people follow you? And do you give readings to people? And I don't even know if you have an opening. You're so
yeah.
darn busy.
You're so sweet. I do readings. They can follow me at eddieconnor.com, and I'm in the process of revamping that, upgrading it rather. And it's Conner. And I'm on Facebook as I don't even know what I am. I think I'm Eddie Connor Soul Intuitive, and on Instagram is Eddie Connor Soul, Soul. But yeah, you can track me down through eddieconnor.com.
Thank you so much. This is such a
Thank you.
wonderful conversation.
You just made my whole day, by the way. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.